All employees must complete this HMRC starter checklist, even if the employee has their P45. The reason being is the government's introduced 2 ways for the student loan to be deducted now, and it's only this HMRC starter checklist that actually indicates the different types of student loan. And it's important to understand the differences, because how you operate that through the payroll software would have a significant impact on the employee. There are 3 statements on the starter checklist, and your employee would normally tick the statement that applies to them. If they don't stick any of those statements, well, then they would be on 0T non-accumulative tax code. So the emergency tax code for this year is 1100L non-accumulative. If you were paying somebody in April and they hadn't been paid before, you wouldn't use a non-accumulative basis. You'd use an accumulative basis because it's the beginning of the tax year. But that is the only time in the year that you would do that. There are 2 types of tax calculation, as I've just explained. Accumulative, this calculates tax on all taxable earnings paid through the payroll from the beginning of the tax year to the period that you're actually processing. And non-accumulative only looks at the 1 tax period and no other income that has been earned in the tax year. So the tax bands for this tax year are £0 to 32,000 is classed as basic rate, and that's your 20%. 32,000 and £1 up to 150,000 is a higher rate taxpayer, and that's your 40%. And anyone who's earning over 150,000 is 45% tax, and that's called additional rate. There are several pay periods you also need to take into account when processing pay. So we have weekly, fortnightly, lunar, which is your 4 weekly, monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly, half yearly and annually. So with the weekly paid ones, the weekly, fortnightly and lunar, you could potentially have another pay period in a year, depending on how their pay date falls at the end of the tax year. So if you've already processed week 52 and they're due to have another pay period before the 5th of April, you would then process a week 53. And the same with fortnightly, that would be week 54. And lunar would be week 56. And if you do operate any of those, your tax code would then go to a week 1, month 1 basis, because you would have used up all your allowances already. And that's quite common when there's a leap year. So, to pay an employee, what information would we need? We would need the employee number if the company operates a number system. Not all employees do. We'd need to know the gender, the employee's name, the employee's address, date of birth, start date, tax code, NINO number, national insurance, the pay method and annual salary.